Hello and welcome to Video 2 Introduction to Mathematica. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the basic Mathematica commands, use some key built-in functions, and create a 2D and 3D plot. So as shown previously, we can go ahead and create a new cell using freeform input by clicking the plus option. To evaluate, we can just use Shift-Enter, and that will run information there. We can go ahead and evaluate 8 times 9. We can also make this equation a little bit more complex. And if you use parentheses, that's going to group arithmetic expressions using order of operations. You can also use multiplications using asterisk, a space between the two objects, or a time or an x for times. Here, we're assigning and creating object A and B and assigning it 8 and 9 respectively. And when we do the A times B asterisk, we get 72. When we use a space, it is the same information as is using X. We can also use more evaluations. So I'm going to go ahead and activate under palettes, click on Classroom Assistant, and I'm going to drag this over here. I can go ahead and make this a little bit more complex. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the square root of 44. And I'm going to put it as parentheses, square root, let's do 144, and parentheses, and I'm going to go ahead and do times, and let's do 34. So I'm going to evaluate that expression. We can also take 3 to the 7th power. We can also do things like some matrix algebra there too, with matrix form. We take the sums. So all of these different options, we go ahead and click on the calculator. There's also the advanced features. So it's really versatile for the different options that we have. The nice thing is we can also do numeric approximation. So let's say that we wanted to avoid getting a fraction here. We could take 3 divided by 5 plus 1, and rather than having it return a fraction within Mathematica, we can do this, and that's going to return a 1.6. I'm going to go up a little bit, and I'm going to import a new cell, because I want to talk a little bit about sets. You can also create a set or a list by saying we have A, and we want to assign that a list of values. So we do A equals curly bracket D, E, and F, end curly bracket. You can also create additional lists, and then if you have multiple lists, you do things like, let's see, a good example would be, we can take the intersection, so we can do something like A, escape, and if we had an object B, which we haven't created yet, but we can take the intersection within that. So that's some different features too within there. So I'm just going to go through these couple other examples. We can also ask for pi to 40 decimal places. And some really nice things too is the random number generation within Mathematica. So we can ask for a random real number between 0 and 1. We're going to ask for 10 of those. We could also ask for a random integer between 1 and 100 and ask for 10 of those. So essentially saying the minimum boundary, the upper boundary, comma, then how many you want it to return. And if we run this again and again, it's going to randomly generate 10 different integers. We can also take a random sample, 3 values and with a range of 1,000. We can keep on running that. We can also do symbolic math for algebra. We can expand, simplify, factor, take apart, or put together some different expressions. So I'll go ahead and evaluate. So we can also simplify this equation. We could expand this one. We could factor it, use the apart function, or use together. Some additional built-in features that we could use is the percent symbol and the slash period. So what I do is we're going to go ahead and evaluate this expression and apart, and then within the function percent, that's going to go ahead and call the previous results and use within the apart function. We can also take the apart together, expand all, and then simplify. We can also, we're going to create an expression, 5 times x raised to the second power equals y. And then we can also use the slash period, x, y, and then from there, we're going to substitute the following value for x. So that's going to be z plus square root of 3 plus pi. With Mathematica, there's also a lot of different functions for plotting. So let's go ahead and we're going to go over a couple of these. So we have the expression, and then the range. So -5 to +2. And then the function there for the plot. We can also take the cosine and sine, and then provide the different boundaries within there too. So we have x third, x squared, and then 2x. And then the different lower and upper bounds for the x-axis. We can also do a 3D plot. So taking x raised to the second power, y raised to the second power, and then provide the minimum and maximum within there too. We can also rotate this, which is really nice. So we can kind of get an idea of what that visual looks like and rotate it to better understand this. And these are some different ones as well. We can also show plot A, plot B, because we store these as objects. We have plot A and plot B. And when we do a show, that's going to go ahead and superimpose them together. We can also do a bar chart. And then we have a gradient rectangle. So essentially we have the heats within this. We have our first one is a 1. We have a 3, a 4, a 4, a 3, a 5, 7, 4, 6, 2, 2, and 1. As the scores get higher, it's going to get closer to the red because we have that gradient red scale within that. It's going to get lower or cooler with the lower numbers there. We can also do things like define a function. But first I want to show some things like the question mark. So if you use that, that's going to go ahead and supply information about the specific commands and what they do. So generate a plot of f as a function. Some different options there too. We can also use option for the plot. And there's also things like plot style, plot lab, plot label, and then ticks. Actually, this should say plot label. Let me go ahead and just change that really quick. So what we do is plot style, we're going to change the different colors and we're adding labels. Let me go ahead and close out this Classroom Assistant. And then adding the different ticks in there. So function its derivatives. We can also add grid lines, plot range, labels, and axes. So we're in the ticks, we have our tables, and our grid lines. So let's go ahead and run this. So we now have our ticks and our grids within there as well. This ends video 2. In the next video, we're going to talk about some different functions. And we're going to cover different lists, matrices, vectors, transposing, solving for, as well as how to import data sets. And that will be in the next video.